All right, everyone. Golden Goal Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm Tom, and I'm joined by my good mate Sam. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. What about you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'm very excited for our special guest today, Dan Cox. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good, mate. Hope both you boys all right. Thanks for having us on.
No, thank you for coming on, mate. It's great. We've had so many Twitter questions and stuff to get into, so I don't think we're going to struggle for content in this one. Just out of interest, mate, how have you found things like planning for the start of the season? Is your team pretty nailed on, transfers sort of planned in and everything?
Yeah, I've been. Don't like to go too early on it. So when it first came out, I write down all the prices and stuff like that, and thinking about players. But it's only sort of been the last week I think really started to sit down and go through the captaincy days by day, and write down who I need, and then put them into a team sort of thing. So yeah, I got a team we're pretty happy with. Just obviously keeping an eye on any injury news and stuff. Like I was going to have that Nkunku or whatever from Chelsea, but he might have a knee injury, might be a doubt for the first game. So then it's a case of back to the drawing board with that. So, but yeah, I think I'm pretty set to say unless anything mad happens, Community Shield, like Haaland gets injured or anything like that. So yeah, I think I'm pretty set.
How about yourself, Sam?
Yeah, much like Dan there, like 90% there. And Cuckoo's thrown a bit of a spanner in the works for me as well. Just what we're saying off air, same sort of thing. But yeah, I'm quite relaxed, mate. I've not actually drafted too many sides. I think I've only done two. I'll have that final tinker like pretty much next Friday, Thursday night, Friday in the morning, some point. Ready to go, mate.
Yeah, I think that's the same sort of decision I've got to make. I had Nkunku as well. It's just deciding who is the second best Chelsea captain for those days. Obviously, Jackson's a decent shout. I quite like Chilwell, to be honest, for the attacking upside he could have. I feel I know you're not going to captain him against Liverpool, but I feel like he'll have a bit of luck down that left-hand side against Liverpool. I guess, yeah, but it's a bit wide open on that Chelsea captaincy, which is probably a good thing for the game, to be honest.
I read
Chilwell's.
Yeah, sorry, Dan, you go for it.
Chilwell's a good price. I think he's in 8.5 or something like that. And I think if he does start weighing in with some assists and goals and could stay fit, he could be one to watch.
Yeah, he's only 8. I didn't even clock his price. Yeah, he is 8.5 million. That's pretty decent, actually. Obviously not your passing bonus type, but yeah, like you said, a few attacking returns, he'll look pretty good.
He had an ACL, didn't he? That's the massive concern there. They're a nasty injury. And take a long time to get back from, if ever. So, but apparently he's looked the most dangerous defensive outlet in the Chelsea team over the pre-season. I read a report on them yesterday. One of the FPL content guys on Twitter did a big report, and yeah, he's definitely on my watch list. I just don't think I can squeeze him in to start with, but I'll be keeping an eye.
Is he playing? I think he's playing a bit more advanced than Reece James even is at the moment, isn't he? From what I've seen, yeah, that's pretty. Yeah, looking promising.
They said that again. There's loads of people in the chat, and they can correct me on this one. But they're saying Reece James isn't quite looking match fit or sharp yet after his injury. But I think Chilwell's obviously hit the ground running a little bit more. So yeah, all good.
Speaking of the chat, I'll just say hello to a few people who are in there. We've got Ian Rose, who's asked us, what do you think of the 3 cheapest centre backs and just setting and forgetting them? So he's gone Baldock, Bayer, and Porro for Sky. I think you want to go big in defence and pick some of the proven passing bonus assets myself. I wouldn't want to just go all cheap defenders, to be honest. I don't know what you guys think.
Porro potentially for the attack and returns, but yeah, I don't think you need to go cheap, do you? Like I say, these cheaper players elsewhere in than defence. So I personally wouldn't be looking for any cheap defenders this season.
Got FPL Spartans, Brownie, Paul Kendo, Rich Darley, Ben McCrum. I can't read everyone. There's so many. Glenn Murray, I think, is telling us to be quiet about Chilwell. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, Glenn.
Dream Team Professor, Cameron Emery. Lovely to have you all in here. We did have a load of Twitter questions as well. To be honest, we could get stuck into those, and that'll probably generate some chat in itself. To be honest.
Yeah, you have to keep an eye on the chat, Tom.
Yes, there's a lot going on for my eyes. I'm not used to this.
They've all come to see Dan.
Yeah, people asking about Chelsea captaincy. Well, one question I had actually is, are you guys definitely covering the Forest Sheffield United single?
Yeah, we're talking about it off air, weren't we, Dan? Just saying it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to cover it. With 50 transfers, I don't want to be missing any any single game days, and especially as Forest have got what, 3, haven't they?
Yeah.
I just think about the only problem is, Forest have got United, Chelsea, Man City in that, and Arsenal in that. So that's what puts me off. Like the goal, I don't know if they're even getting Dean Henderson now, are they? But if like Henderson was in there, that would put me off him because you think he's going to be minus points in those. But I just think for them single game days, you've got to have someone. You've got 50 transfers. But the only problem is, do you want to have a Forest player for 7 games in there? But you could have one, whip them out, put another one back in, sort of do something like that. But I just think just have someone in, like we said before we started. If Gibbs White can get a goal, a penalty, something like that on one of them captaincy days, he's worth having, because that's going to be like nearly 20 points. So I just think I don't want to be sat there not having anyone and be like, I should have had him in like I did with Maddison last year when he got like 38 points. I just think I should have just, and especially you don't even need to have you don't even need to use a transfer to bring him in. That you can start with him, and let's say one transfer to get him out. It's not like you two in and out. I just think just stick one in there. Why not?
And like Gibbs White did pretty decent last season, got 5 goals, 10 assists. Like if you stuck him in for first 4 or 5 game weeks and he came away with like 3 or 4 attacking returns based on that, you'd be very happy, wouldn't you?
He takes the pens, doesn't he? Does he take the corners and free kicks and all that as well? I think he's involved in everything, isn't he? So
definitely,
I think it's worth a go in my opinion.
There's a couple of options there for Forest. Just looking at the chat, they're looking at what's the keeper called? Matt Turner, is it?
For Arsenal, looking like they're signing him. Yeah, he could be an option.
6.1.
6.1.
Apparently so.
Is that what he is for Arsenal? Yeah, he is. Wow.
That's cheap, isn't it?
Yeah, that frees up a lot of money. Bearing in mind we were just talking about enablers beforehand and saying what's Morgan Gibbs White 7.9, so it's another nearly a couple of million on that again. Got the striker, haven't you? David know how to pronounce his name, so I'm going to leave that one. And then there's a couple of sort of defensive assets that you could look at as well, or defensive asset, and then there's a mid there as well. So there's a couple of players potentially. Would you be keen on the keep, Stan? Would 6.1 tempt you if he started?
That's the cheapest sort of player goalkeeper by a long shot, isn't it? 6.1. Cool. Do you know what I mean? Well, I say I've got an Anna in my team at the minute, 7.3. So to save 1.2 million, that could turn a Saliba into a Trent Trent, or just say Trent. I always get his name messed up. But that million could Anana and Saliba or Turner and Trent. Do you know what I mean? That's sort of something that allows you to do something like that. So yeah, it could be. I might have a look at that really, and then see what that allows you elsewhere if you're a bit strapped for cash. But yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, Phil Speck's just put Forest keeper a bit left field, which it is. But when it's that cheap, like you just take a string of 2s, wouldn't you? And if he picks up like a saves bonus or something like that along the line, and you get a 8 or 10 point captaincy at that, and then the money upgraded into like you said, Dan, a Trent or something along those lines, that's suddenly really, really smart business. I'm currently on Morgan Gibbs White. I see quite a lot of people in the chat sort of going back on who they're on. I just think Gibbs White's probably one of their best players. He's a quality player, isn't he? And he's a talisman, as Dan, you said. Everything goes through him. So someone in the chat just confirmed to me something about high 40% or even higher, 50% of the goals and assists came through Morgan Gibbs White. So he's involved pretty much in a high percentage of their goals. That's good enough for me. Although they've been getting absolutely pumped, haven't they, in pre-season? That's a concern.
Yeah, and I was just looking at they ain't got the best run of fixtures to start. Obviously, Arsenal away opening, on the Saturday. And obviously the single, week after they've got Man United away. Then they play Chelsea away. Then I'm pretty sure they've got Man City, no? And then it's the single. And then they got Man City. So they've got quite a tough run. But I mean, if the keeper can get you saves bonus in that run, like you probably take that for 6.1, wouldn't you?
I'm gonna think about the goalie. But yeah, that's the only worry in it. Like he could be on a minus points against Arsenal if he's got in time for Arsenal. But yeah, Arsenal, Man U, even Chelsea, Man City, it's a bit concerning. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about him. I literally hadn't considered him till they've just mentioned. So, but one to keep an eye on. The only problem is if you've got someone that cheap and he is useless, and that Forest are getting
off him is going to be tough, isn't it?
To get rid of him would be a nightmare.
Yeah, James Davies made a really good point, and I thought that. What's the effect on Morgan Gibbs White from the Euros? He said he's only been involved in one game since arriving late from the under-21s. He's a big Forest fan. It's probably nailed on, but has he had adequate time in terms of recovery? And then, Ben said 40% Morgan Gibbs-White in terms of goal involvement, and the striker nearly 60% in terms of involvement. So they look like the two best assets, don't they?
Yeah, that's a good point actually about him playing in the Euros, isn't it?
Yeah, especially at that age as well. And he played all season, didn't he? So like a little bit of fatigue. But I guess he'll play, won't he? Let's be honest.
I suppose the only other option is, but then you would be booking in a transfer, is to not start with him, and then if he is starting against Forest on the Friday the 18th, you could bring him in. But do you want to then be using two transfers for in and out? But just an idea.
No, I like that. That was good. I hadn't thought of the keeper. Yeah, I think that's probably like a second team decision, isn't it, rather than in my main one. But I like it. I think it could work.
Someone put negative points, and that's exactly what it spells to me. But then I see the potential elsewhere. And with it, Meslier seemed to concede loads those couple of seasons ago, didn't he? And he was a really high-scoring goalkeeper purely because he made so many saves. So if your saves can outweigh your goals, then you're going to be in a positive return, aren't you? Which I'd take that for that price.
And the other thing about the keeper is like those 3 single game days: Sheffield United at home, Burnley at home, Brentford at home. Like if he could keep, he's not going to keep a clean sheet in all of them, but if he keeps a clean sheet in them as captain, he's done his job. It don't matter if he's got -2 or 3 against Man City or something like that. Because it's the 20-pointer as captain that'll do you. So
yeah,
something to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Another question about captaincy as well, because one of the things opening the game up, there is obviously an Arsenal day on Saturday where you'd argue Saka's probably the best captain. Sunday you've got Liverpool playing where Salah is probably the best captain. And then Monday with Man United playing where Rashford is probably the best captain. I have not been able to fit all 3 of those players in a team yet. And I'm having to pick a Man United defender, which is not ideal to cover the Wolves game. Have you guys managed to squeeze all 3 in, or are you going to cover one of them, do you think, with a defender as well?
I have done a team with Saka, Rashford, Salah, but I think then that is one where I've got Colwill and defence, who's obviously a slight risk that we'll probably talk about in a bit. And well, then again, maybe that's if you had someone like Turner in, you could afford that. So
yeah, it's a good point.
I have done a team with those 3 in. So with the thought that that's be the most selected captain for each day, optimum sort of thing. So yeah, I have managed to do it, but I'm not comfortable completely with the team.
No, it doesn't leave you a lot elsewhere, does it? I've done no side with Rashford. I've gone United keeper and then Saka and Salah. The actual consideration I've got at the moment, it's slightly off topic on that, but is Harry Kane. Obviously, it looks at the moment like I don't know if he's staying or what, but he hasn't gone yet, has he? I think he's a really good captaincy option for that.
He is. You can't ignore that, can you?
No. So I'm like, he's another big hitter in the mix as well. So yeah, it's a few tough decisions for sure.
Yeah, I think if Kane stays, that'll be a bit of a nightmare. So Spurs have got Brentford on the Sunday, then Manchester United, but then they've got Bournemouth, Burnley, and Sheffield United. And I think if Kane's there, them 3 games. Man City got Sheffield United, Fulham, and West Ham. So you don't want to get rid of him for Kane, and that don't really work out either. But you just think you just can't have both of them in the team at the same time, can you? And have your Saka and Salah, and
no.
So I kind of hope he goes, because that would make. I haven't done one team with Kane in it.
No, I mean either.
I really need him to go, to be honest.
So yeah, Jonathan Maloney said Bayern lodged the final bid today. I saw that as well. I think that was big Fabrizio, wasn't it, reporting on that? I have this feeling he's going to stay, but that's just a gut feeling for me. Be actually easier if he went, wouldn't it? But from a template perspective, it'd probably be better if he stays. But I was listening to Fergie on the 3 for 1, and Fergie, or maybe it was Paul. Paul was saying like, I'm not so sure in him just because where his head will be at in terms of those first couple of games. So that's like another good consideration.
How did he? Oh, sorry, mate.
Anyway, does he?
I was going to say, the season that he was, bound to go to Man City, and then it didn't end up happening. Didn't he start off that season absolutely on fire, I'm pretty sure?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. The track record says he does well even when he's been linked to other clubs. Yeah, who knows? I just think, Dan's absolutely right. If he doesn't lead, that's gonna be an absolute, gonna be a difficult one on that Sunday.
And I think if he don't go, Richarlison, what's he, 8 million? I know it's Richarlison. Do you know what I mean? And he did play better for Brazil and stuff, didn't he? But if he's going to be playing week in, week out, he could get some goals, could he? 8 million could be an option. And Son, will he, he'll be getting more goals, you would think, or not? Is he 9.5 or something like that, midfielder? So, like, I hadn't really thought about him before, but if Kane goes, I might think about him more. I think that would help him rather than hinder him. I don't know. Well, he can't be as bad as he was last season, Son. So maybe I should be thinking about him anyway.
Yeah, the season before he started off on absolute flames, didn't he? Him and Kane. The first 3 or 4 games, if you didn't own one of them, like, you may as well have packed up and gone home, because there was hat tricks and all sorts, wasn't there, for Son?
Yeah.
Kane, like 4 assists.
Yeah, did that against Man United, didn't they? I think Son scored 4, Kane got 4 assists or something mental like that.
Yeah, that's something like that, wasn't it?
I think I had Kane and I captained him, and his return was not far off, if not nearly as good, down to the assists and all the extra bits and bobs that he picked up. He's put Richarlison can't be as bad as last season. Did he actually score in the Premier League last season?
I think he had like 3 goals ruled out for offside or something, didn't he? I don't think he actually got. Let's have a look. I'll have a look on Sky.
I think he scored, did he?
I think I saw him score at Anfield. I was there for that. I'm sure he scored.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, all for Jota to go up the other end, Dan.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know how I felt that moment. Been a Liverpool fan. Yeah, scored 1. Yeah, it's come in the chat. But yeah, he can't be as bad. And you said if Kane goes, then you think he'd be the main man up top, wouldn't he? I think he'll be in a lot of teams if Kane goes.
8 million. Like I said, 1.1 more than Morgan Gibbs-White. So if he's not doing anything, move him off. If team formation allows, he could be an option.
I just sort of saying in the chat about Trent as well. I've watched Liverpool during pre-season. I know you can't hang your hat on pre-season, but they have looked so open at the back. And Trent was one of the players that I said was an absolute shoe-in to my team. But I'm having a bit of a doubt about him at the moment. As Sam, as a Liverpool fan, what are your thoughts?
It's not going near my first team at the moment. We are really light on our feet again. The transfer window has been handled badly again. 40-odd days the bid came in for Henderson and Fabinho. 3 weeks they've had to have something lined up in terms of replacement for number 6. The replacement number 6 aren't fantastic on the market. Lavia's 19, the link to Corre, some Brazilian lad, Andre. It's all over the shop. 2 bids rejected for Lavia. Season's a week away. There's problems in that midfield, which are then stepping to the defence. We need a left centre-back. Robertson looks like he's struggling in that role that Klopp set for him. Absolute gaping gaps against Bayern Munich. Not a chance. To start with, you are right, Tom, in terms of what you're saying about pre-season for the start of the season, but the signs on the same as you. Like Trent was going to be a shoe-in for me, but I'm well off it in Sky anyway at the moment. Doesn't mean it won't change, but yeah, it's not looking great in my opinion. I've watched a bit.
I think the way to look at pre-season, rather than like checking if players are banging the goals, etc., it's just looking at how each team sets up when it looks like they're playing their sort of first 11. And the signs have not been good from Liverpool, have they?
I would choose one or the other. Salah is the proven asset. I don't think we're going to keep so many clean sheets to start with unless something changes in the market. So I'm trying to be diplomatic here. But it's just not good business, like 10 days before, a week before you start, or 8 days before you start. A little bit concerned. So for me at the moment, it's just it's just Salah in the team. But don't let me put anyone off, Tom.
I was just going to ask Dan what he thought. Yeah, go on.
So what was it? His last 10 games of the season, I jotted down. His last 10 games of the season, he got something like, I just lost it now. He got 7 assists and a goal. But before that, he'd only got 1 goal and 4 assists. But he was sort of playing in that inverted sort of. He was in the midfield sort of thing when it was like a 3-2, and he was there. But in pre-season, he's just been playing as a right back, and so that could.
He started 2 or 3 games at number 6, but we have no number 6. That's the problem. This is what I'm talking about. The issues, like. There is no number 6. I mean, people moaned about Fabinho's legs gone, but at least he was number 6. Now we don't have one. Curtis Jones has been chucked into there as well. So it's just Yeah, the numbers aren't there, and then players are getting exposed as a result of that, and that was very evident against Bayern. There's lots of question marks around Andy Robertson in that role as well. I can tell you that. Yeah, as I said, I'm a bit concerned about it, but I think Trent will. I don't know, but if Klopp finds a formula, then I think Trent can do really well. But he's got to find that right formula before I invest in Trent, although he's a really, really nice price. And he did pick up some bonus, didn't he, Dan? He got quite a bit of passing bonus and tackles bonus in that inverted role.
Yeah, I just say for 10 million, I don't want to be like having doubts about him. Like I say, if you're paying that much for a defender, you want it to be like a Diaz, don't you? Like nailed on for passing. You know what he's going to do for you. We'll have Trent in there, and yeah, they're not keeping clean sheets, and he's not getting passing, and yeah, so yeah, maybe a watch and brief from the off.
Yeah, I think a few high fives coming in that Liverpool defence is looking shaky from United fans and stuff. But you know, as a Liverpool fan, I watched quite all of it. I'm going to be very honest when we're looking good, and honest when we're not looking so good, and that's the take at the moment. So, yeah.
Just seeing if there's what other questions we got. Oh yeah, obviously Lewis Dunk hasn't featured at all in preseason. He's obviously probably like the best value player in the game if he does play. If he's not looking likely to start, where do you guys think you'll go? Or I mean, from my perspective, you could even just start with him. He might miss the first game, but he'll probably play game week 2 and then be back, I reckon. I don't know what you guys think about alternatives to Lewis Dunk.
What do you think, Sam?
Well, I haven't got Saliba in at the moment, so that might be my current draft. So that something along those lines. What's Lewis Dunk at?
8.3 or something silly. Well underpriced. A bit like $1 million underpriced at least.
And what's Saliba?
9.
Yeah, I've got a bit in the bank. I've got over $1 million at the moment, so I could do that. Yeah, or another Brighton asset defensively, maybe. I don't actually know. That's probably one of the. There's just question marks generally, isn't it? I think on the defensive front, that's my overall thinking at the moment. It's like Colwell as well, which, like Dan said a minute ago, we're going to come to. Dunk, no featuring, but then if he's fit, does he just start straight away? Like he's the starting centre back, isn't he? I don't know. It's a pretty difficult one. If I'm honest, I don't have an answer to it just yet.
Have to see how much they price that Igor up. He's the new one that's coming at Brighton as well, and he'll presumably play alongside Dunk. So we can see how much he is.
Would you go with someone, Dan, though, straight off the bat like that?
Dunk, I'd have to see what they said in the presses this week coming and stuff. If it was like he was touch and go for this weekend, but should be back for Wolves, I'd probably just keep him in. I said for that price, I'd just have him in. I think if it was 1 or 2 games, any more than that, then yeah, I think start with someone else. Like you say, you got 50 transfers, start with someone else and move on to him.
But the other player I reckon could be a shout is Pau Torres from Aston Villa. I'm pretty sure I heard that he made the most successful passes in La Liga last season. I might be incorrect on that, but I feel like Mings did pretty well for passing bonus last season for Villa, didn't he?
Yeah, he got it.
So I feel like
after Emery came in, didn't he? So
I feel like Torres could be a good shout, and he's like very much the same price, and could. I mean, probably not the most exciting captain on that day they play Everton, but he could cover you for that one. I remember
a few names going around in the chat. Thomas Stupian, obviously from Brighton. Here names mentioned there as well. Don't know what you boys think of either of those two.
I remember owning Estupinian towards the end of last season. He did all right for tackles, to be fair. He got a few tackle bonus in there along with some attacking returns and stuff, so he wasn't too bad. I just think with those defenders, I just like having passing bonus, regardless of who they play for or what they do, really, rather than tackles. I think passing bonus is just so safe with so many of those defenders.
I just don't like the Newcastle games. Villa, Man City, Liverpool, Brighton. Just not the ideal first 4 there.
No, same for me, Dan. Glenn Murray said De Zerbi says Dunk is close, which what that means we don't know, but he has seen a video of Dunk training, so take that. Make of that what you will.
You mentioned Colwell as well. What are you guys thinking of him? Obviously, he's a potential. I mean, if he's playing regularly for Chelsea, he pretty much breaks the game, doesn't he, at his price? What have you guys starting with him, or are you just going to wait and see if he's a regular?
Nah, Poch said he's starting, didn't he? So I've got no more information to go on than that, so I'm going to take the risk, I think, at the moment. What about you guys?
He's been bigging him up, Benny, as well, Poch, and he's got a new contract. Then he's the future of Chelsea. So yeah, I think like, is he going to play 38 games? No, but if he can for that price, even if he plays 30, do you know what I mean? I think he's worth having, isn't he? So and Badia Sheila, whatever, he's injured, isn't he? Thiago Silva's like my age, so I think he's worth having. Like, he's definitely going to be in one of the teams. I don't know if I'd commit to put him in both. But then Chelsea, apart from Liverpool, then they've got decent games. West Ham, Luton, Forest, Bournemouth. Like,
they've got pretty much the best start of any team, I reckon. Yeah, it's really good.
So yeah, you could put him in, but have someone in mind that if he for some reason is out of the team for 2-3 games in a row, that you can move him to someone else. But yeah, he could be a game. He could be like this season's Saliba, couldn't he?
I was just looking.
He's good. He's a good player. Like, if you watched a bit of him, I've watched a bit of him, and he's decent. He deserves to be in there. I don't think it's one of those players that like, oh, we've just got him, we've got to play him. So I think that's such a benefit. Like Saliba, everyone was talking about Saliba before his breakthrough, going, this kid's really good. And then of course he's become the talisman. So it's good signals for sure.
I just had a play around with the team then, mentioning Turner at 6.1 and Colwill at 7.5. I've built a team I'm actually really happy with the three of Saka, Salah and Rashford all in there as well, if you use those two. So yeah, just want to think about.
Tom, there's quite a few people coming up in the chat about West Ham assets. I've seen Bowen and Paqueta and all that sort of stuff. Like, you guys got any thoughts on West Ham? It's been mentioned, I think, 2 or 3 times.
I think Bowen's going to do all right this season. They just have such a tough run of games to start. Although West Ham don't do too badly in the tough games, do they? Like, they're sitting back and counter-attacking sort of style kind of works. But I think it's a transfer in when they eventually have that single game day for me, to be honest.
So what are you going to do? Watch and see who's looking?
Yeah, because they got Luton, haven't they? So, I mean, you could quite happily just sit on your hands with Nakamba, see what happens. If West Ham start tearing the place up, then get someone in. Otherwise, I mean, if Nakamba got tackles bonus in that game, I'd just be happy with him as a captain to cover that, to be honest. It's on the 1st of September, so I'm not sure I'd want to start with a player for a captaincy on the 1st of September. I'd happily bring someone in or just go with Nakamba, I think.
Any thoughts, Dan, for you?
No, I don't think West Ham for me. Bowen, obviously dangerous, isn't he? But yeah, I don't know. I think like I just don't know. With Rice gone, they ain't bought anyone in, have they? I think I'll just I'll have Nakamba for that single. And again, West Ham have got Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool in that sort of run either side of that. So not for me, I don't think. I wouldn't put anyone off having Bowen if they wanted, especially against Luton, but with just the other options there are, I just don't think for me. Nah, I think I'll give West Ham a skip.
I'm currently on skip. Would you be prepared to bring in someone for that single if you saw, like what Tom said, like West Ham were on flames and Bowen was banging him in and whoever was looking good? Would you be tempted, or would you just stick with your enabler?
I don't think I would, because I've got Man City the game after. If you could have someone in for that captaincy and then another game and then get someone else, move on to someone else, I would. But just for the one game, you then really want him. I say that's the game you could have Nakamba sitting there and hopefully he'll get tackle bonus or something like that and just get you a 10-pointer or something. And you can bring Bowen in, captain him, and you don't score and you think, I should have just stuck with Nakamba. But I've brought Bowen in and now he's got Man City and Liverpool the next 2. Not ideal. So I don't plan to.
There'll be a lot of people in the chat right now that got burned by Bowen last season. I swerved him on every occasion. I know I said I've partially given up, but he just did not have a good one, did he, last year round? And I think a lot of people will be put off by him for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Spartan says that West Ham are the only Premier League team who haven't made a signing paper-thin squad, and he thinks they'll struggle. Probably with the loss of Declan Rice, that sounds really a reasonable comment and probably bolsters the thought of why I'm looking to avoid at the moment.
I mean, yeah, talk about Liverpool not signing anyone. You'd feel absolutely aggrieved as a West Ham fan at the moment when you're sitting on a boatload of cash and they've not bought anyone yet. It's a bit crap for them, really, isn't it?
Can't even get like McTominay or Maguire, like people like that, are sort of in for, aren't they? And just
they went in for James Ward-Prowse and they pulled out
That's
there,
it.
weren't they? Then Maguire, but they pulled out there as well. So it's like, again, looks like no real succession planning as such on key targets, and then nailing those key targets. Alarm bells for me.
The only problem is that Bowen against Luton. If Bowen gets 2 goals against Luton or something like that, that'll absolutely kill you, won't it? So that is the only worry there. But
yeah, well, Gordon Bell's just put, do you not fancy giving Bowen a crack as cap or something, or just even playing as against Bournemouth week 1 and then a captain night versus Luton? It does sound quite good on paper, but
I suppose you could that would be my worry if Bowen gets a goal or 2, which he could easily against Luton. You don't know how they're going to be, could you? But yeah, so have him in for Bournemouth, Chelsea, Brighton, and because they play that Luton on the Friday, you could then take them out on the Saturday for someone else. So I suppose you've only got to keep them for 4 games. Something to think about.
I guess the
second team down.
The one thing I'd be interested in seeing is how good Luton are at home. So I think it's Luton's at home for that game, aren't they? Like if they turn that place into a bit of a fortress, then I'd probably be a bit more comfortable not having Bowen.
Yeah,
because I reckon they'll really struggle away, but at home that stadium's going to play a factor. I reckon, isn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right.
And Mark Stevenson's put West Ham into Newcastle assets, which you could go Bowen for like 3 or whatever it is, 4 games, and then that's when Newcastle's fixture run improves, isn't it? Is it game week 5? I think Dan's got it in front of him.
Yeah, so you'd have the West Ham, Luton, then Newcastle have got Brighton, Brentford, Sheffield United, Burnley, West Ham, Palace, Wolves. So yeah, that could work, something like that into, if you could get Bowen into Callum Wilson or Isaac, something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely food for thought there.
That's why I like to have the old fixture. Could just have a look and see what would work. So yeah, now after initially saying no for Bowen, I wouldn't want to bring him in, but yeah, you could start with him. Then, like the guy said, move him on to a Newcastle. That might work if we've got some more fixtures by then. And Newcastle have got a single game day that could tie in for that as well. So all stuff to consider.
Just had a question in the chat, and it's something I wanted to talk about anyway. Dom SkyFF asks, any thoughts on the Man United defender Lisandro Martinez to cover for Rashford on that captaincy day? From my perspective, I reckon a clean sheet is quite likely for Man United in that one, and Martinez looks pretty good for passing bonus. So I think it's a decent shout. And to be honest, I reckon he's probably a good shout for the whole season. He's about the same price as Lewis Duncan. I'd say his points potential is probably quite similar, to be honest. As long as he stays fit and doesn't get sent off too much, I reckon he'll be all right.
Yeah, what is he, 8.5 mil, I think, isn't he? Yeah, right. They probably will keep a clean sheet, won't they? Unless anything mad happens. Yeah. Well, you can just imagine Wolves scoring just a goal in the last 10 minutes of that, couldn't you? If people have gone for Nana or a Shaw or something like that as captain. But yeah, Wolves are in a bit of trouble, I think, aren't they? With the manager might not be there and stuff. So yeah, that is a good shout.
And I guess the other thing as well, the talking point that came out this week was they're actually going to do added time properly in the league this year. So God knows how long games are going to be, but that's going to have a bit of an impact on clean sheets as well. Man City won't be able to keep the ball in the corner for as long as they have been, I don't think.
Yeah, that is interesting. They're doing that. Isn't it going to be to play like 10 minutes of injury time and stuff like that? So, but I say, yeah, more chance of not keeping clean sheets, but I suppose that will help defenders get that passing bonus and stuff, won't it?
Yeah, very true.
It's a good point, that, Dan. You'd expect potentially a little bit more bonus maybe to go up across the board, passing and maybe even tackles as a result of another potential 10, 11 minutes of time. But
yeah, agree.
But the potential of a clean sheet maybe to drop out when you're like looking at 90 minutes and you're seeing like 10 minutes of extra time and someone's going to score like an equaliser in the 99th minute. You can just see it, can't you? Your double defence cleaned out. Like, yeah. It's
or a Just Stop Oil protester runs onto the pitch, zip ties himself to a goalpost, and then your clean sheet gets wiped out. That can always happen.
Yeah, what was that, Everton, wasn't it?
Shocking. Yeah, that was the start of all of that. Has there been a slight VAR tweak as well? Like, I think there has. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but people think it'll basically mean there'll be more goals as a result. So we'll see.
Is that the offside one? Is that like the one Arsene Wenger was on about? So, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that.
I don't really.
We're talking ourselves out of big at the back right now, aren't we? With the extra 15 minutes of extra time and all of that sort of stuff. United will get 20 minutes. Fergie time will be on fire, won't it, for United, Tom? You'll have about another 20 minutes.
Absolutely. It's a fair question from Ben McCrum, actually, with Gabriel Jesus' injury. I've not looked at Nketiah at all. Do you guys have any thoughts on Nketiah as an option? I probably wouldn't captain him, but just to have in your team as someone who might pick up points. I mean, Arsenal have a really good set of opening fixtures. 7.6.
I would probably look at Trossard or Havertz or something like that. I think because I think Trossard's been playing up there through the middle in some of the pre-season friendlies. So if he's down as a mid or something like that, I could be tempted. But I just don't think I'd risk it from the off, to be honest.
Nah, not for me either. I'd agree. And speaking of Arsenal as well, there's been a bit of talk on Twitter about Declan Rice. Few people thinking that he, just based on how the Arsenal midfielders did last season, he won't be too good for bonus. I reckon he could be a good shout. I just think they'll be giving him the ball a lot more than maybe the previous people that played in his position. I don't know what you think. You guys you probably won't start with him, but do you think he could be good for bonus?
I'm keeping an eye, definitely. Yeah, but we don't know, do we, at the moment, until we see how Arteta sets up. Is he playing like Havertz at the left side of a 3 in the midfield? Yeah, he's not that sort of player, is he? I'm not as smart as Arteta, so I'm not going to start questioning him tactically. But it just doesn't seem like he's a left centre midfielder. He's like a 9, isn't he?
I was surprised with that Havertz signing myself.
Same.
Rice, I don't know, when the game first came out, he was one of the sort of first people to put him a team, but 8.1 million. I'd just like to be sure first that, if he's picking up passing bonus each game, then I'll have him in. But I suppose that's where someone like Nakamba comes in. I think I'd rather just take a gamble on Nakamba. So I think Rice has become Nakamba, and then I've upgraded other players. But he was one of the first names in there, but I'm just doubting it slightly now. So I think I'll just see how he gets on, and then he can always come in. Do you mean 8.1? If you've got a couple of mil spare, or a couple of point mil spare, your Morgan Gibbs White could go to Rice, something like that.
And you both, have you both got Enzo Fernandez just out of interest on those midfielders?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, I have.
He's just like a shoe-in, doesn't he, for bonus? And I read that he's been looking a little bit more attacking in the pre-season games. That's purely, again, on that. I think it was on that report again. So yeah, just have him for the bonus. If he gets any kind of assists or goals, then that's awesome, really, isn't it? He's the new Rodri, just a bit cheaper.
Yeah, I think same.
People just reminded us of when Bruno Fernandes got a penalty and scored after the final whistle. I remember that.
That's what we're Brighton about the chat of going back. Bruno's the most popular conversation. It's all about penalty, like the Brighton penalty. I had him as captain that day, Tom. So as a Liverpool fan, it was like typical Bruno, but at the same time, it's like, I've got my points kind of thing. Are you boys? That's a good question, actually. I'm still a little bit unsure on United. In my head, I'm thinking Rashford, Martinez, Anama, and Bruno. Not all of them, of course, but where to go. Tom, you're obviously a United fan. What's your thinking on Bruno, and Dan? What's your thinking there on those boys?
You look at Bruno's underlying numbers last season. I think he had 16 or 17 expected assists, and he only managed to get 9. And obviously that's because Man United didn't have a proper striker. I think Bruno Fernandes will do really well this season. Rashford probably about the same as last year. Yeah, I think Man United will do all right this season. I really do think Bruno's going to have a bit of a better time of it than he did last season, to be honest. Because a lot of last season as well, he was playing really deep, wasn't he? He stuck him right in in sort of almost holding midfield for a bit of the start. Then he started playing more advanced towards the end and did really well. So I think he could be a really good option. And to be honest, choosing a Man United captain between Rashford and Bruno Fernandes, that's quite a tough call for me. I think I'd flip a coin between the two, to be honest, because they can both get as many attacking returns as each other.
Bruno would have been a must-have this time last season when it was after that season. He was just so good when did he come in the January or something like that? But that sort of half the season, and then the next he was brilliant, and it was only last season really. He was just a bit not as great sort of thing. But yeah, he always had the potential, didn't he? For passing, shots, bonus, goals. He takes the pens, so he can get everything. Lot, wasn't he? Yeah, Rashford. He could easily be a 2-pointer, couldn't he? In the singles and stuff like that, or he could get a goal or two. He's one of them. But Bruno, he could sort of be passing, perhaps tackles and shots. He loves a shot, doesn't he? So he could get you a few little points. So yeah, if he can get back to that, being captain might help him. Sort of improve a bit.
And he just plays every
Do you have
game
any of your
for
teams at the
90
moment,
minutes.
Dan?
Sorry again, mate.
Do you have Bruno in any of your teams at the moment?
He's on the watch list, but I have gone for Rashford because he's more owned.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems really popular in here. Looking at the chat, like a lot of the United fans sort of really thinking he's gonna kick on again, and having proved that a couple of seasons ago. That's why I'm sort of watching the chat for it and thinking about maybe going for him in one of the other second team or something like that.
I guess one of the underrated things about Bruno is he just plays every game for 90 minutes. I mean, he even played when he was injured last season. They just stuck him in the team and he played 90 minutes even with like an ankle injury. So yeah, you can always count on him to play. You don't have to worry about that.
Tom, there's a few questions. As I said, there's a few questions in here about formation. What formation you boys are starting with?
Oh, well, I don't know if you can see that. I've not done any fancy graphics, but that's what my team's looking like at the moment.
I'm on 3-5-2 as well. That's where I'm at right this moment.
I do like a 3-5-2 because you say that can easily go to a 4-4-2, can't it? Or you can move it around a bit. That's the only problem in it. If you go something like a 4-5-1 and you've got Haaland's your only striker when Haaland gets injured, you can only bring in another striker, can't you? You can't then think, I'll bring in a midfielder or stuff like that. So yeah, I just think as long as you keep some money and you can get out of it somehow. Do you know what I mean? That is the worst thing in it. Well, even having a 5-3-2, if maybe not a 5-3-2, you can get out of that, can't you? But yeah, sometimes you're locked into a formation, aren't you? And you think, I've got to do defender for a defender or something like that. And if you want to get onto midfield, you can't, or a striker. So that's why I said before, I wish 5-4-1 was an option because that would be handy.
Just because there's often really good for options this year. There is really good options in midfield and defence, so just allow you to like stack up where the options are. And then of course, if a few striker things become apparent, like Jackson starts to fire or Nkunku or Watkins, then you can just pivot out of one of your midfielders or your defenders straight into another striker. But yeah, it's just annoying that we can't do that, I guess.
I think you just got to be flexible, aren't you? Like, I don't think there's ever a case of like, oh, you can only win this if you do a 3-4-3 or a 3. I think at times throughout the season, I've been a 5-3-2, then I've had a 3-4-3. Yeah, just got to be flexible, aren't you? And adapt as things happen, injuries happen, fixture runs happen. So I'm never locked into I've got to have this formation sort of thing.
What are you currently starting with, Dan? Did you say? I can't remember if you said or not.
I think I had a 3-5-2. Well, that was with Nkunku, so I'll have to have a look at that really. But I'm not dead set on a formation. I'll have through the two teams. I'll have like a 3-5-2 and I don't know 4-4-2, something like that. I'll just see what happens.
Yeah, that's the same for me.
One more thing as well, I saw in the chat earlier. I've just seen Gvardiol, the Croatian centre-back, signed for Man City. I don't think he'll displace Diaz, but it's just another defender in the mix, isn't it, to change things up? What do you reckon about him? Do you think he's going to be I think he's going to be a potential option. I mean, with the money they're spending on him, you've got to think he's going to play as well, which would be frustrating just a bit worrying, I guess, as a Diaz owner at the moment.
Sorry, Dan, you go.
No, you go, mate.
I was going to say he's a left centre back, isn't he? So his distribution's really, really good, and that's obviously what Pep wants him for. But Pep likes currently, anyway. His flavour of the month changes. He likes Diaz in the centre, doesn't he? So who does it affect more? Does it actually affect like Nathan Ake?
Yeah, it probably does. Yeah.
Ake's just signed a new deal, only 4 years. But is Walker gone, or is Walker's still there? Isn't he
still there?
So I don't know. I did read something, whether how true it is, but I heard he does because then he's got so many centre backs now, hasn't he? But if he's doing that three at the back, and yeah, like say it's Guardiola or whatever, Diaz, I can't think of the other one, like a Kanji or something like that. Yeah. But Stones will play then in the sort of in the 6 or something like that. So I think it's just Pep in it. I said like before we started last season, I had Ake and Akanji. He must have transferred in and out each about 4 times because they were in the team, then they were out. So.
You just have to accept. you have to accept there will be some degree of rotation in those 4 or 5 centre backs for City, and that you can't just go rash like you just said then, Dan. Because if you were chasing the current starter, you'd be doing the merry-go-round, wouldn't you? You just have to accept like Stones is going to be on the bench, and then he'll come in and get a double figure return, then he'll be back out for another reason or whatever. Because there's 4 or 5 centre backs that could play across.
I must have had it last season as well, where like whether it was Ake or Akanji, had them in like they'd gone off after 58 minutes on 58 passes or something. You're like, I forgot, like couldn't even pick up the passing bonus before he'd gone off. Like he subbed him off early, and he's like, he just does my head in with stuff like that. So
that leads me to a question to you boys, and I'm sure it's will come up in the chat, or at least interest people in the chat. Thought on Stones. I know, Tom, I know your thought on Stones. You've kind of influenced me a little bit. But
I've actually just read on Twitter. Read on Twitter that he might have an injury as well. I've heard that some of the forums are saying he's got a hamstring injury. I just don't like him for passing. He didn't do too great for that last season. Sorry to speak over you, mate.
He's pretty injury prone, isn't he, Stones? Like, no wonder Pep probably just looks after him with a rotation here and there, because he's not as robust as other players, is he? I wouldn't have been starting with him regardless anyway, but would have kept an eye on him. I don't know what your thoughts were on Stones, Dan, like from the off anyway.
Is he 9.2, 9.3? I don't know. I might have Diaz, but I just really don't know if I'll get sucked into the Man City kid after last season. Just so annoyed. I said wasted so many transfers on Ake and Akanji and stuff like that. I don't know if I'll put myself through it again. I think I would just rather have a Saliba and just hopefully get passing bonus each week and know that he's going to play most games. Than just put myself through it each week and have a look at that Man City team sheet and be like, oh, he's not starting, or he's gone off after 58 minutes, and it's like, oh, for God's sake. So I might just have not put myself through it.
I guess another thing to consider about City as well, they got the Super Cup. Is that in game week 2? That's like midweek after. I can't remember which game week it's after, but they obviously got the Super Cup. And then someone correctly mentioned, I don't know when the Club World Cup happens, but they probably have a Club World Cup to play, don't they, at some point?
Is that November, December?
Somewhere. Yeah, it's in the chat. After Burnley or something.
So I'm sure by that time we probably won't need to pick them. There'll probably be loads of defensive assets to go for. But yeah, it's just always so much to consider with those City assets, isn't there?
The only two I'm considering, there's 3, potentially 4 to consider in my head would be, this is not who I'm going for, by the way, but it would be Edison, Diaz, Rodri and Haaland. And for me, it's Diaz and Haaland at the moment. I'm not doing my head in with anyone else.
I just don't. Yeah, I mean, Rodri's always a good shout, but with Fernandes being $1 million cheaper, I just can't justify going for him. But if anyone wanted to go for Rodri, you could never argue against it. It's just Fernandes comes in so much cheaper.
Kovacic, if he plays and he get in the passing sort of thing, he could be right. But again, how much is he going to play, sort of thing? But then he might play if they got rid of Gundogan and stuff like that. Mahrez, like, is he going to play? But yeah, Kovacic, I know he's maybe a bit injury prone as well, but he could be good at getting passing bonus, couldn't he? But I think he's one to keep an eye on.
16th of August, boys, is the Super Cup according to Phil Speck. So keep that one in mind. I think Edison is a pretty poor Sky asset. He just doesn't make any saves bonus, does he? So if you City, and they had they conceded a few kind of single goals, didn't they, last year?
Yeah, like they'd have concede one shot on target, wouldn't they? And that would be the goal.
Yeah, but then there was the season before, Dan. Do you remember when we just couldn't get enough Manchester City defensive assets? Everyone had about 5. Do you remember? We just lumped on.
Yeah.
January and February, it was 11 clean sheets in a row, pretty much, and so they're always capable of that. It's just getting it on it at the right time.
Yeah, that's it.
I saw a bit of a different topic, but I saw a question about second and third teams as well. We sort of already spoken about them, but how are you guys going to tactically play it with your second teams? You're going to go identical or just change it up a little bit?
I'm going to have about 3 or 4 different players, I think. Because I think last season I did both teams the same, and they both didn't start great. and then that's both teams sort of out of the running. So I think I'm just going to have 2 or 3 where the players where you think, oh, should I have Bruno? Should I have Rashford? Well, put Bruno in one, put Rashford in the other, and I'm just going to do things like that. And then I'll just like nights like that, man. The Bruno or Rashford captaincy could be 20 points difference or something like that. So I'm going to keep them basically the same, but have 3 or 4 differences, go for different captains and try to keep them a bit different. So say it's nothing worse than you got to September and you're 50, 60 points behind good Sky players and you're thinking, I'm already on the back foot here and I'm already having to look at doing something different to catch up. And I hate being like that. I'd rather be on the front foot sort of thing. So by having 2 slightly different, I think that's what I'm going to do.
I'm exactly the same, Dan. I'll go Trent in one, maybe the second team after I've just slated him. Diaz in the first team. Bruno probably in one. Rashford another. Saka in one. Maybe another cheaper Arsenal asset in another to then allow something else somewhere. Probably all the enablers in both teams and everyone else exactly the same. Haaland in both. Salah in both. That sort of thing.
I'm in between at the moment. I'll think I'll see how we go. Like that whole idea of going for Turner in goal, and then you can probably get all 3 of those big boys for captaincies on the first week. So I might do that in my second team, and then just see what we get, how we get on with the goalkeeper.
You've had a bit of play with that, haven't you? I've obviously got the live chat up, but as soon as we finish, I'm going to jump straight in and go and see what I can build with Turner in goal. Basically,
yeah.
I think once we see that, I think that could be a game changer.
But yeah, I find if I go for Turner, like I said, if I go for Turner in goal, I can squeeze in, as long as I go for Colwill as well, I can squeeze in Saka, Salah and Rashford all for those captaincies in the same team, and then still have all the big names alongside them as well. So it does look pretty good. It's just, whether, like someone like Onana, how well is he going to do in terms of points? Because some of these Sky goalkeepers, they can get 200 points in a season quite easily, can't they? Like Onana definitely could this year.
It's a really good position now, isn't it, the goalkeeper? I think we've all become really accustomed to the fact that, like, it's a real asset. And is it 7 points for the clean? No, it isn't it. So you're looking at like 9. Yeah, that's just massive. And then with bonus as well, they're like really viable captain options. It's like 20 plus points for a captain. It's like, that's a haul, isn't it?
Some of them, when Nick Pope was at Burnley, like the amount of single game days Burnley were getting, it'd be like Pope, man of the match, clean sheet, saves bonus. You're like high 20s sort of points there. It's just mad.
Just thinking, maybe you could start with someone like Onana and then transfer in Turner after that. Captain Onana for the Man United game, then transfer in Turner and captain him on the Friday. Don't know, just an idea. Probably wouldn't want to use a transfer on that game though.
I think I think I'd have, if it's going to do Turner, I'll just put him in one team and Onana in the other, I think. But yeah, it's all options in it. Just have a look and play about and see what you like the look of.
What do you reckon? Have you seen any more questions, Dan or Sam, at all? I think I've covered everything I've seen on Twitter and in our little chat here. We're just closing in on an hour, so...
Yeah, no, I think we covered most things, haven't we? Like everyone's thinking about. But something like that for next week, then it'll be Kane's not going, and it's like, Jesus, how are we going to get Kane in now? And
that's the next big thing, isn't it? You're absolutely right.
That is Tom, can you make a draft with Turner in goal and then Kane, Salah, Rashford, Saka? Oh, I don't know if that's possible, but I think if it is possible, then that and Haaland and stuff, like literally 5 premiums.
Luton and Forest defenders in, I think, to afford all that as well.
I've almost forgotten. We haven't asked for Dan to prepare anything at all, but it seems customary at the end of every podcast that Bryony's just suggested it in the chat. Has anything upset you over the summer, Dan, that you want to have a rant about? This is your forum for everyone.
Yeah, loads normally. Do you know what else annoyed me with Sky, right? So when I won Sky, I didn't get a tweet. When Liam won it, didn't get a tweet off him. Shane White, he won the World Cup thing, not a tweet, not, just tag you on Twitter or X as well. What you know what I mean? But not even a tweet, congrats to this, whatever, nothing. Didn't even give you a follow on Twitter, nothing. Paul wins. He's got a bloody massive check. He's been interviewed by Fergie. He's all on their socials. I'm thinking, what's happening here? Like, that's annoying. I just think like no one cared when I won. I just get like, I just got an email and the money transferred. He's arranging all this stuff for him and doing all this, and you think, well, I don't understand what's happening here. So that's a bit annoying, but was buzzing Paul one. He was like, he's such a great guy, and he like, do you know what I mean? And I was with him on the last day as well, so that was great for him. And I say he's just such a great guy to do that pod every week and win it. Unbelievable, in it. But
Yeah,
no, but no, I've been pretty chilled other than that. That was just like, what? Just he's been right looked after. So, but yeah, he deserves it.
Yeah, I heard you. I heard you were quite pivotal, Dan, on that final day. Obviously, you'll be humble yourself, but you did say you did give him the captaincy call, didn't you, with Harry Kane?
Yeah, I had maybe 5 pints of beer. And anyone knows me knows I'm probably drunk after 3. Do you know what I mean? So I think when as soon as I met him, he was like, Haaland's captain. That's it. And I think he did ask me after about 5 pints, who would you captain? I'm like, well, Kane, in it, last day of the season and stuff like that. But I think the other two blokes that were second and third captain Salah, and he just think, yeah. And I think if he'd have gone for Salah, I think he would have still won it? I can't remember what he said now, but it would have been close anyway. But when Kane scored within the first 5-10 minutes, didn't he, or something like that against Leeds, and you're like, right, that's done then. Like, let's get the champagne in and stuff. So, but yeah, no, he says, but I think he knew if it weren't going to be Haaland, he was going to go for Kane. But I think it just reaffirmed that for him. So, but I was buzzing he mentioned like that I'd said it, but I had 5 beers, so I wouldn't take anything I say after 5 beers, you know.
And how are Norwich going to do, Dan?
Oh, mate.
There's a few people asking about. You're a Norwich fan.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a mess like Norwich and Arsenal, to be honest. But Norwich, I'm not expecting anything, mate. Not expecting a lot, really. Which then they'll probably surprise me, but I don't think anything might scrape. I think Ipswich will probably finish above us, so that's how bad it is. They're looking pretty good.
I'll be up, mate. My sister's a season ticket holder for some reason.
Oh
yeah, she has been for the last 3 or 4 seasons now. So I'll probably be up to watch every game I've gone to. It's been about 7 or 8 goals and really late goals as well. So it's been really quite entertaining from a neutral perspective. But I can understand if you're a fan of the club, it could be probably quite frustrating.
God, yeah. When you're up, mate, give us a shout again. We'll go for a beer.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll do indeed. Won't be too long.
Nice one. I think that does us nicely then, doesn't it? Anything else for you guys to say at all? You happy?
I think that's it for now.
I think stuff will change between now and this is what I said a few weeks ago. Like we've played it a few seasons now, haven't we? At least we all know what it's like. Another enabler will emerge. Someone will get injured. Another signing will happen. Something else or a couple of things will happen now, and then that'll be like, someone is either locked in the team or out the team, and it will just shape things up, I think. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on right now.
I remember John Maloney sent me a message in the week asking if we want to do another Spaces. What I thought, because I'll be doing a deadline stream before the FPL deadline, but I could hop on, if I'm not too tired, I could hop on a Spaces for the final hour before Sky starts. That might be a nice idea. Get a few people in for that.
God, do you know what's annoyed me? So I booked next week off work. Booked next week off work because I thought Friday, don't be messing about. 7, like Haaland's not in the team or Diaz ain't, something like that. Said to Mrs. Premier League next Friday, blah, 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 blah. Then she said yesterday, oh, by the way, Friday night, 5 till 7, or no, 6 till 8, that's my eldest son's karate thing, whatever. I said we'll go. I was
no.
Next Friday, I was like, well, I won't be coming.
That's you got more important things, Dan, for that day, for sure.
Them hub WhatsApp chats will be pinging off. They'll be checking. That's a busy time, mate. That is so. I was like, hate to be that guy, but I won't be coming. Nightmare, isn't it?
I'm keen for it. I mean, if you're around, Dan, I'm definitely keen for a little Spaces. Tom, sort of around that kind of deadline. What time's kickoff? I was going to say first kickoff is only kickoff, isn't it? It's 7.
8 o'clock Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. Normal time. I need to get my head back in the game for normal kickoff times and stuff.
Yeah, I'll crack something in Twitter for, about 7:30. We can just get whoever wants to join for half an hour, just chew the fat and then make our final decisions, basically. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll stick something on Twitter and share it.
Yeah, it sounds good.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Dan. Really appreciate your time, and thank you as well, Sam. That was really good.
Invite.
Cheers, Dan. You've trebled or quadrupled our numbers as a result of that. So, yeah.
No, that'd have been high anyway, mate. You two pre-season. Don't worry.
Too humble, mate.
And yeah, just thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you for everyone that asked questions on Twitter. That was a really good stream. Thanks to you. And yeah, please leave, if you haven't already, please leave a like rating on the stream and subscribe to this new Golden Goal SkyFF channel. Just trying to keep the content separate between the two channels, basically. So if you like Sky, this is now the channel to subscribe to from us, basically. And yeah, we'll catch you either on this Spaces, or if we get another pod out next week, then we'll let you know. But yeah, see you in the next one.
Thanks everyone for watching.